Hello, everyone. Tonight, we step into the chilling darkness of three true stories so disturbing, they reveal moments when even the police, the ultimate symbol of safety, could do nothing. These are not urban legends, not ghost tales whispered around campfires. These are real accounts, taken from people who lived through terror that no one could stop. And when help was called, the line between reality and nightmare blurred forever. So dim your lights, turn up your headphones, and prepare yourself for what follows. Because sometimes, even the ones sworn to protect us can only watch as the horror unfolds. The first story is titled, The Woman in Apartment 5C. It began in 2012, in a small apartment complex in Milwaukee. A young woman named Tessa had just moved into her new place after a messy breakup. She was 26, quiet, and working night shifts as a nurse. The first few nights were uneventful, except for a faint tapping sound she sometimes heard from her walls around 2 a.m. She assumed it was the plumbing. But one night after returning home from a shift, she noticed her door slightly open, even though she was sure she had locked it. Inside, everything looked normal except for one thing. On her kitchen counter, written in dust, were the words, "You look pretty when you sleep." She panicked, called 911, and police came immediately. They checked every corner, every lock, every window. No sign of forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing. The officers told her it might have been a prank or her ex trying to scare her. They increased patrol in the area and left. That night, Tessa barely slept, keeping a kitchen knife by her bed. But around 3:17 a.m., the sound came again, a faint, slow tapping from inside her closet wall. This time, she decided to record it. The tapping paused when she got closer. And then something tapped back twice, deliberately. Heart pounding, she called the police again. When they arrived, they checked the wall, but found nothing except old pipes. Again, they left, assuring her it was all in her mind. But a week later, neighbors complained about a strange smell coming from the apartment beneath hers. When police broke down the door, they found an old man who had died weeks earlier, except his living room wall had a crudely cut hole leading upward into the floorboards of Tessa's unit. Inside the wall cavity, they found a small blanket, water bottles, candy wrappers, and a camera. Someone had been living between the walls, watching Tessa through drilled holes behind her closet mirror. The police never identified who it was, and all they could tell her was that whoever it was had disappeared, possibly using old maintenance tunnels that connected the building's basements. Tessa moved away, but she later received an anonymous letter at her new address. It simply said, "You moved too soon." The police opened a case, but never found the sender. They told her they couldn't help unless she had proof. Proof she hoped she'd never get. The second story is called The Road That Wasn't There. In 2004, two college friends, Ryan and Malik, were driving home late from a camping trip in northern Arizona. It was past midnight when their GPS showed a shortcut through a rural road called Old Creek Lane. They followed it, a narrow dirt trail between thick pine trees. After 15 minutes, they realized something was wrong. The road seemed endless, and the trees began to look identical, each bend leading to another just like it. Ryan tried turning around, but the GPS kept insisting they were still on Old Creek Lane. Then, they saw it. A woman standing by the roadside, her hair wet, clothes torn, barefoot. Malik slowed down, rolled the window slightly, and asked if she was okay. She didn't respond, just stared at them with wide eyes and whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Before they could react, her face twisted into something impossible, her mouth stretching too far, her eyes rolling white. Ryan slammed the accelerator and the car sped down the road. They didn't stop until they saw headlights ahead, a police cruiser. They waved frantically and two officers got out. The friends explained everything. The officers looked at each other and said, "There's no road there. That area's been closed off since '91 after the landslide." Confused and shaken, Ryan insisted they'd just driven through it. The officers escorted them back, but where the road should have been, there was nothing, just forest and dead brush. When Ryan showed his GPS, the screen flickered, showing Old Creek Lane. Then it vanished from the map. The police, half believing, half dismissing them, told them to file a report in the morning. The next day, when investigators checked the car, they found deep scratches along the side, as if someone had dragged long nails through the metal. They also found wet footprints on the back seat, though neither Ryan nor Malik had been back there. Police couldn't explain it and marked the report as unsubstantiated. 2 months later, Ryan's mother received a call at 3 a.m. The caller ID said Old Creek Lane. When she picked up, all she heard was heavy breathing and a faint voice whispering, "You shouldn't be here." She reported it, but when the number was traced, it led to a disconnected landline buried in a forest, right where the missing road once was. The police had no explanation, and both friends changed their numbers, never taking late-night roads again. To this day, when locals hear that voice in the woods, they say it is the woman of Old Creek Lane warning them, or perhaps luring them back to where the road still waits in another time. The third and final story is the most disturbing: the basement door. In 2017, in a quiet Kansas neighborhood, a family of 4, Mark, his wife Helen, and their 2 daughters, moved into an old Victorian house that had been vacant for over a decade. The house was beautiful but had one odd detail: a locked basement door that the realtor said had not been opened for years. The previous owners supposedly lost the key. At first they ignored it, but strange things began almost immediately. Lights flickering, footsteps at night, whispers over the baby monitor. One night, Mark heard his youngest daughter talking softly in her room. When he peeked in, she was sitting on the floor, staring at the vent grate. "Daddy, the man in the basement says he's cold," she whispered. Mark froze. He checked the vent. It led down to the basement. He reassured her it was just her imagination, but the next morning when he went to work, his wife called saying the basement door was open. The same door that was always locked. Police were called. They searched thoroughly, finding nothing but a damp, empty basement with a few old tools. The door was relocked, but that night they heard loud banging coming from below, followed by what sounded like crying. The police came again, checked again, still nothing. They suggested old pipes or raccoons. The family installed cameras, one in the hallway facing the basement door. The next morning they reviewed the footage. Around 3:12 a.m., the basement door handle began to move on its own. Slowly, it turned, opened halfway, then closed again. The police saw the footage but said, unless there was evidence of a person, they couldn't intervene further. Days later, their older daughter vanished. Her room window was wide open, and the family found muddy footprints leading to the basement door. When the police returned, they broke the door down, and what they found made them sick. The basement was deeper than before, as if new tunnels had appeared, carved into the dirt by hand. In one tunnel, they found a small wooden doll, tied with hair and thread. Deep within another, they found a faded note that read, "She's mine now." Despite multiple searches, the daughter was never found. The police eventually closed the case due to lack of evidence, labeling it an abduction by unknown perpetrator. Months later, the family moved away. But here's where it gets worse. The new owners, unaware of the history, moved in a year later. During renovation, they discovered a crawl space behind the furnace. Inside was a small wooden box containing several Polaroid photos, showing children in the same house dating back to the 1970s. In one of the last photos, the missing daughter was visible, standing next to a tall, shadowed figure in the corner. Police reopened the case, but the negatives were too damaged to trace. The figure's face was always blurred, but in every photo its hand was resting on the child's shoulder. One of the detectives who handled the case later quit the force after claiming he saw that same handprint appear on his living room wall one morning. 5 long, dark smudges that wouldn't wash off. Officially, all 3 stories were filed as unresolved or open cases with insufficient evidence. But the people who lived them never forgot. Because sometimes what happens goes beyond human understanding, beyond procedure, beyond help. And when you're alone in the dark, hearing that faint knock on your wall, or seeing a door move just slightly by itself, you remember that there are things out there the police can arrest, can't explain, and can't protect you from. So tonight, as you turn off your lights, just think. When something happens and you call for help, what if they can't help you either? Thank you for watching Shdows Secrit. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more terrifying stories from the shadows.